Greetings, everyone, and welcome to episode 40 of the Lott Carey WISE Digital Couch. My name is Doria Larrier, and I'm your host for today. On behalf of the Lott Carey leadership, which includes the Executive Secretary Treasurer, Reverend Emmett Dunn, our President, Reverend Dr. Gina Stewart, our first Vice President, Dr. Jesse Williams, second Vice President, Dr. James Victor, and the leadership of the Women in Service Everywhere, Reverend Dr. Angelita Clifton is President, Reverend Dr. Brendan McBurrow, the first Vice President, Sister Lynette Richardson, second Vice President, Brother Gabriel, team leader for the Men on Missions, as well as Reverend Brittany Mingo, who is the leader for the Youth Department. We say welcome. Welcome to Thursdays in Black, where on Thursdays, every person of note who is concerned about the advocacy of the eradication of gender-based violence dons a black shirt, ladies, in pearls. We ask that you support us in spreading awareness for gender-based violence and the eradication of it globally. And so to that end, Thursdays in Black. We are going to make sure that you are aware that it is currently on the website, the registration for the 127th convention of the Lott Carey Foreign Mission Convention, and the title is Proclaim. So please go to lottcarey.org, lottcarey.org, in order to complete your registration. Today, we're going to be focusing on another episode of this year's series called Testimonies and Thanksgivings. And the person who will be sitting on our digital couch today is none other than our first Vice President, soon to be our President of our convention, and that is Reverend Dr. Jesse T. Williams. Welcome ye him. Greetings, sir.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings, Lott Carey family. It's a great day that the Lord has made.
Excellent. So, sir, you will be shifting seats in a few moments or in a few weeks, and we're excited to have that happen. In our conversation today, we're going to be focusing on testimonies and thanksgivings. Some testimonies that you might have that brought you into Lott Carey and into the ministry and the work, the mission work that we serve, not just on the week that we get together, but 365 days of the year, but also some moments of Thanksgiving. So let's start out with, how did you first come into contact with Lott Carey, and what got you really excited about participating?
Thank you very much. I think the earliest thought or memory I have is that I had a very mission-minded pastor as I was growing in ministry immediately out of college and still very young as an associate minister. But I had a very mission-minded pastor, Dr. Ronald Bobo, who would talk about Lott Carey and introduced us to the organization. But it wasn't until I started to pastor my second congregation. I am now at the Convent Avenue Baptist Church in Harlem, New York, that I became really engaged and entrenched in Lott Carey and what Lott Carey does and who it is. And there's some really built-in reasons for that. It's because Lott Carey is really a part of Convent Avenue's DNA. And the church has a very unique contribution in history in a few weeks, because one of my predecessors, Dr. M.L. Wilson, was also a president of Lott Carey and very involved in mission. And so if God says the same and I begin to serve, then Convent's only had 4 pastors in 82 years, and 2 of us, half of our pastors, will have served Lott Carey in this capacity. So when I got to the church, Lott Carey was already ingrained in the DNA in the church, and of course I became part of that and in the church's life. Began attending annual sessions. This has been going on 18 years ago now. Began attending. We have a standing day where the executive secretary comes and preaches at Convent every Father's Day, every third Sunday of June. The executive secretary, even going back to Dr. Somerville and M.L. Wilson, that goes back that far, to Dr. Goatley and my immediate predecessor, and it continued under me and now continues with Reverend Dunn. But the executive secretary of Lott Carey comes to Convent every year on Father's Day. So in addition to what we do in the annual session, there's been this connection. What really captured my attention when I started going to the annual sessions was the integrity in terms of how mission dollars that are given actually make it to the mission field. And there's so many other convention bodies out there that I won't talk about and won't name, where when they collect money, the money oftentimes doesn't make it to the place where the needs are. So the thing that really grabbed me about Lott Carey was I'm able to see and hear that the funds that we give to the efforts of Lott Carey make their way to the mission field. And I've been to some of them and shaken their hands and heard their stories. And that is what moved me. Maybe kind of the emotional cathartic moment for me was when the annual session was in Louisville, Kentucky. It's been a while ago. But I remember having a conversation with David Goatley and one of our other previous presidents. And I just remember looking around and seeing the people so passionate about what was going on and hearing from the mission partners. And I just remember looking them both in the eye and saying, I want to be involved in this organization. I said, this is something I want to be a part of, and I'm passionate about this. And I guess they took it to heart and started giving me assignments and work to do and ways to get involved. And I soon became a member of the board and now, of course, an officer of the convention. And I'm really humbled and honored by that. But I mean, who would have known that, 17 years ago, as a pastor of a Lott Carey church, that I would now be where I'm at today. And so it's a wonderful journey. And when you hear about the testimonies of Lott Carey and you see it for yourself, it's easy to become. It was easy for me to become passionately involved, and for my attention to be captured.
Thank you so much. I think it is very, very important for people near and far to hear what captures someone's attention about the organization and also keeps them committed and gets them even more involved. I actually had a conversation yesterday with a high school mate about that. I was preparing for this conversation and then preparing for convention, and I give the motto or the spiel, if you will, that we come alongside of global partners and some local partners as well, and support them in the work that they do. Not that we come in and we're proselytizing, not that we're coming and we're saying you should do this, or whatever it is that they're already working on and they need, and we provide the hands and the feet on the ground in order to do the work. And we also provide the financial support. For example, like wells and schools and clinics, etc. And so my friend said, "Oh, do you go to Haiti?" And I said, "Yes, we do." And then, of course, I went to the Mission of Grace story where the sister talks about how she always sees people who do not look like them come in to try to help. And then she was so amazed and floored by people who look just like the members that she's serving come. And then she talks about, the big black man and how she's so just enraptured about seeing people who are supporting their own. And that's a beautiful story. And so my friend was like, wow, like, tell me about this. Go on ahead to lottcarey.org. And so I wanted to know, do you have a story of going on the mission field and getting even more captured and committed to the work?
Yeah, actually two, and both of them are just major experiences for me. The first was going to Guyana and seeing the work there with Reverend Dr. Brenda Harewood, and spending about a week or so there, going and seeing the different churches that we're serving, hearing about the experience, getting an opportunity to preach and teach at the, get this, M.L. Wilson Memorial Church. So there's a church there in Guyana that's named after one of my predecessors at Convent Avenue Baptist Church, because back in the day when M.L. Wilson was president of Lott Carey, he and one of the missionaries that served there, well, really it was a husband and wife team. They were very close, and they came and visited Harlem, worshipped at Convent when they were in town, and Convent gave money toward the construction of the church, and to just to have the experience of standing there in that place and hearing their desires, hearing their vision for how they could do ministry. It was transformative for me, and really a blessing. And thinking about now and hearing how Brenda reports in our annual session and what she's referring to, she talked about some things with the land and property there in Guyana now that we can assist with, and I'm looking forward to really, really making a major contribution, not just in money, but also in, as you say, hands and feet, to help that mission go forward and to come alongside with them and walk with them hand in hand as they're seeking to really transform Guyana. The other was South Africa, which was like just before the pandemic. And I flew there with the then acting executive secretary, which was Dr. Greg Moss. He and I took a trip to South Africa, and of course, whenever you step foot on the motherland, it's an amazing experience that you can't really put into words. But again, just hearing the testimonies of those pastors and hearing what their vision is for their churches and for their convention there, whom we partner with, and hearing what their needs are and how we can assist, and taking some assistance with us to do that, and seeing what kinds of contributions we can make to local communities as well that will help them to make a difference. How we can advocate with them and for them is just amazing. So, I'm going into this next chapter really inspired and motivated by those two experiences that have really shaped me, informed me, and I'm looking forward to a lot more of them.
Thank you for sharing that. There's one thing that my prayer is, as we move forward with the mission work of us in the States, traveling to other places, and we talk about this, or we teach other people this prior to them going on the mission field, that we are to do more listening than talking,
Mm-hmm.
and more learning
Yes.
than teaching, because then of course that creates this us versus them, or we're here and we know more. And I wonder, and I pray that it has been on the minds of people in the past, and hopefully we can see it in the future, that in the sharing of, let's say, our world with the them, that there is more sharing of their world with us. And this is what I mean. So when you go to Guyana, and there are two, people know there are two like really specific indigenous communities. There's an indigenous that's from South Asia, India, and then there is the indigenous of Africans from the continent, and then there are the indigenous from South America. So it's really three communities, and those communities have immersed themselves. And you and I are both from New York, Harlem. I'll give you that, but Brooklyn is still where it's at. We'll talk about that later. But there are two interesting communities that have embedded themselves into the New York City area. Guyanese communities are really, really large in New York City, specifically in Queens. And I wonder how much of when we get back home, do we sort of connect with those communities because they are descendants of the places that we go to. Similarly with South Africa, there are a number of businesses that are South African born and bred in Harlem. And I wonder, like, what type of outreach do we have? In addition to when we go, sometimes we go and we say, oh, we're just going to do mission work. And I ask the question of people that I know, and I've asked the question of my own church. So how much are we going to learn about them before we go? Like, are we going to learn any of the language? Are we going to read any text so that we know the history of it? And I wonder, just in moving forward, how we can incorporate that. If it's something that we should give thought to, I think we should, because when, as I say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Well, when in South Africa, learn how to say "so bona," right? Learn how to use some language, some interesting thing that you know about them. Again, a book, an article, some videos, learn about some history about some leaders, so that you know when you walk in why it looks like that. Similarly with Guyana, why does it look like that? Where did these people really come from? Because they were not indigenous to this land prior to 80, 90 years ago. So just some of that inculcation prior to going on the mission field. And when we come back, to continue that education so that people really know it's not an us and them, it's a us.
That's right.
It's a we.
That's right.
And we are here why we're here, because we learned a lot about Black history in terms of U.S. But when we think about how the U.S. and the governments globally impact other people in other parts of the world, it will impact the mission work that we do when we go and when we send.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you make an excellent point. There's a lot of opportunity for us to be better at that as we're engaging our mission partners, and we look forward to that. The more we can learn about those in other parts of the world, the better off we're going to be as a foreign mission society. Absolutely.
Excellent. If there are any final words, like, what would you say to people who are still not really committed to taking the trip? To taking a trip. A number of people are just like, I'll send, but part of our work is to go. If some people are still on the fence about going, what would you say to them as our final statement?
I would say that if you go, well, certainly if you're capable of going and physically able to make the trip, it will be life-changing for you to see another part of the world, to see God's people doing ministry and engaging in service. It will change your life. Every time I've gone outside of the United States, it has transformed me in a way that's irreversible, I would say. And so I would say, go. Go, because you will glean something invaluable that you can't learn by just simply staying in the United States of America. There's a whole world out there that God has called us and commissioned us to go into it and carry the gospel in both word and deed. And I would just simply say that's part of our calling, and it's a way that we can be faithful to what God has called us to do. And that's what Lott Carey tries to do every day.
Thank you so much. And I will add to that, and take your children.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Take your children.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take your children.
Yeah, if it's transformative for us, imagine what it does for our children when they go to experience another part of the world. Absolutely. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dr. Jesse Williams. We thank you for being on the Lott Carey WISE Digital Couch this month. We look forward to seeing you at convention in a few weeks and shifting the responsibility, passing on the torch from one to another, and doing the work that God has called us to do. So we thank you. We look forward to seeing you. And to everyone out there who has watched us today, make sure that you drop in the comments any additional questions or comments, and we'll be able to see them and respond to them. On that note, have a great day.
Thank you so much. See you in Memphis.
See you in Memphis.